So it was, every kid, and we were poor. We didn't have any money growing up. So it was my dream to be able to go home and show mom and dad that I got Boardwalk and Park Place, right? So when Goonies came out, it was kind of the same thing. It was like the
Yeah.
hunt treasure where all you have to do is find it and it's yours, right?
Mhm.
And, when you're that age, when you're 8, 9 years old, you're learning about life. You don't know anything about life. And so these kids and this movie really exemplified the power of friendship and family and determination and adventure and all of that together.
Welcome to Push to Be More with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. This is a show that talks about the stuff that makes life work. And dare I say it, makes life a little bit more interesting today. And to help us do just that, I am chatting with my very special guest, Behman Zachary, who actually owns a company called We Buy Gold LLC, but we're not going to talk about that. And if you're a Goonies fan, I want you to keep listening up because I've got some interesting news for you. We're going to talk to Behman about where he's at to push through, what he does to recharge his batteries, and what growth looks like. Now, the transcript and notes, any links will be available on our website, pushtobemore.com. And whilst you're there, if you haven't done so already, sign up to the newsletter because every week we email you the links and the notes from the show automatically. They come straight to your inbox. Yes, they do. Now, this episode, probably the episode I've been looking forward to more than any other recently. And that's not to disparage any other guests, but you're going to have to work hard to keep up with this one. This show is brought to you by Orion Media, which helps entrepreneurs and business leaders set up and run their own successful podcast. Why on earth would you want to do that, you may ask? Well, I just simply think it's probably the best and most effective marketing tool out there on the market at the moment. I appreciate that may be a bold claim, and I appreciate there's lots of questions you might have about podcasting, like why you would do it, what's the strategy, what's the technology, etc., etc. Well, that's where Orion Media comes into it. You see, I love to do what I'm about to do, which is have conversations with very interesting people. But I'm not a big fan of all that other stuff, if I'm honest with you. So Orion Media takes it off my plate. I get to do what I'm good at, and they brilliantly take care of the rest. So if you're wondering if podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at orionmedia.com. That's AURION media.com. Now, brace yourselves as we talk about our guest. Behman Zachary is a serial entrepreneur, a dedicated collector who can't resist the irresistible charm of 80s pop culture. I know how he feels. Now, this entrepreneurial wizard launched his first business at 16, and with 3 decades of experience under his belt, has turned mentor, guiding the next generation of business mavens into an art. Yes, he has. And when he's not ruling the business world, he is ruling the digital space with his YouTube and TikTok channels, serving up entrepreneurial wisdom with a side of 80s flair, living by his legendary mantra, never give up. Or maybe Goonies never say die. So let's... Behman is a true Goonie making waves in the entrepreneurial world. And so without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Behman. Behman, how are we doing, man? How are you doing?
Doing great, brother. Doing even better that I'm on the show with you. I love this shirt. That thing's incredible.
Yeah, for those listening to the podcast, which I know like 99% of people do, what you're not going to recognize is I have this tie-dye shirt on, and on the top it says Goonies. Now we're going to get into why we're talking a lot about the Goonies already. But this shirt, can I tell the story, Behman, of this shirt? This shirt was given to me by my beautiful friend over in Astoria, Oregon, called Katie Lamping, who does tie-dye. She's a nurse, but she does these tie-dye T-shirts of a weekend at a market store. And I had the immense privilege of being in Astoria recently, a couple of weeks ago, and Katie gave me this shirt when I was over there as we were selling tie-dyes. There was a bit of a Goonies thing going on that weekend with a new music video. And then on the Sunday night, my last few hours in Astoria, we drove up to the house where the Goonies movie was filmed. And if you don't know what the Goonies movie is, where have you been? It's like the film of all films. It's one of my favorite films of all time. And that's where I met Behman, because you were coming out of the house just as we were coming up the drive, right?
Yep. Worked out perfect, huh?
But just explain to the audience what you made me do before I could go into the house and have a look around.
Well, you know that there's one rule that I set the day my name was revealed into the world of the Goonies house. No one gets inside the house without doing the truffle shuffle. The rule.
It's the rule, and it was brilliant. I laughed so hard as me, Katie, and Katrina are outside doing the truffle shuffle, which is now on TikTok. I put it on Instagram. It's all over the place, and we'll put it in the video if you're watching the video of the podcast.
First, you got to do the truffle shuffle. Do it. Do it.
So you are now the owner of the Goonies house where this movie was shot in the 80s, but you're the recent owner of this house, right?
Yep. Fortunate enough that Sandy Preston, the previous owner, picked me to be the lucky one she passed the torch on and felt that I would be a good ambassador, a good steward of the house to the Goonies community, which is what I pledged to be and what I'm trying my best to do. So, yeah. It's it's only been a few months and it's already been a roller coaster ride, you know?
I know you were telling me a little bit about it, but why did you, I guess, let's start at the beginning. How did you hear about the Goonies house coming up for sale?
To be honest, it was all of my friends and family were texting me and tagging me on all forms of social media. And the general consensus was, this is all you, go get it. You better win this. This is your dream. Go get it, make it happen. Basically throwing all of my slogans in my face. And so I felt obviously challenged where I'm like, oh my gosh, if people are telling me make it happen, and I live by that statement.
Yeah.
And never give up and all this stuff. So yeah, that's how I got made aware of it. Now I had obviously met Sandy at the 30th anniversary in 2015. She gave my family and I a tour of the house and was cool enough to even invite us to spend the night. She's like, you guys are amazing. I'm like, no way. So then I asked her, I was like, are you ever going to sell this thing? Because if you ever sell it, I would love to have the opportunity to buy it. She goes, yeah, you and a million other Goonies. Everybody wants to buy this house. I was like, all right, well, I'm serious. So if you ever want to do it, but she never reached out to me. She just kind of, did it organically through an agent, right, through a broker and listed the house. And I moved at 200 miles an hour. I wanted to know, am I the chosen one? Is this really a thing? Even if it was a 1 in a million shot, you remember like in Dumb and Dumber when Jim Carrey, he says, what's a chance of a girl like me and a guy like you ended up together? And he's like, is it more like this? And she's like, more like 1 in a million. And he's like, yes, I knew I had a chance, and for me, it was the fact that I had even a 1 in a million by the Goonies house was an incredible, thing. And so, I started moving fast, getting everything, all my ducks in a row and submitted a formal offer. And I lost like 3 nights of sleep. And finally I said, hey, I'd really like to know sooner than later. I mean, if it's going to be a no, that's fine. As long if there's a better person out there, if one of the cast members wants to buy the house, if Steven Spielberg wants to buy the house, I totally understand it. Let them buy the house. But if it's going to be me, don't torture me for like 30 days. This is awful. So anyway, luckily Sandy had decided that she wanted to have an answer. She wanted to make an answer the Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving Day holiday here in the United States, which was on a Thursday. And I said, that would be amazing because if I have to go into Thanksgiving, it's going to be hard to focus on friends and family during the Thanksgiving holiday, not knowing and talking about the possibilities. So it ended up coming down between me and one other buyer. He's a big Hollywood wig. He has done a lot in Hollywood. He's a massive Goonies fan. And, he even offered a lot more money than I did. And I was fortunate enough that she picked me. And she was very adamant, and she meant it, that she wanted it to go to the right person. So, yeah, that's how I ended up with the house. And then when it became real and we were under contract and then things moved forward and we finally closed on the house, I was like, holy smokes, this is a real responsibility. And that's what I don't think people understand is it's not just any normal Hollywood home, right? It's not just like, oh, this scene was filmed in this house. this is the Goonies house. This is
Mhm.
the house that arguably is the number one, movie house in the world in the last 40, 50 years. And so understanding, for me, the perception I have of this house, even though I'm on paper and the owner of the house, is I don't feel like I'm quote unquote the
Yeah.
owner. Like you might own something, right, physically, but in my opinion, it doesn't mean that it belongs to you. So the
Yeah.
house belongs to the Goonies community. It doesn't belong to me. It's just as much your house as it is my house. It's that special place that we have in all our hearts. It's what makes you fly from the UK all the way to Astoria, halfway across the world. That's how special that house is. So it would be very selfish of anyone, including myself, to think that it's my house. It's not.
Mm.
It's a community house, and so we're going to do our best to make it become that in some way, shape, or form by restoring it to make it look like it did in the movie, which is in the works, through a TV show. And originally I was going to do it, but now it looks like we're getting a TV show. And then, after that, how does the house get shared even more? How
Mm.
do people get access to the inside? How do tours happen? If somebody wants to spend the night. So these are all things that at some point in time, if it was my discretion, I think it deserves to be shown to the
Yeah.
world. That's kind of where my mentality is trying to figure out how to do the best thing for the community. And as you know, we're very welcoming of people walking up the driveway,
Yeah.
doing the truffle shuffle. Just I always say, be respectful to neighbors. Park a few blocks away and walk because the neighbors get mad. Don't come up the
Yeah.
driveway. Do not
Yeah.
drive up the driveway.
Do not do that. Yeah.
On one side, it's actually a dangerous driveway, and it does look the same as it did in the movie. But then it's like, how do we go to the next level? You happened to be there when we were there, and you caught us right as we were leaving, so it was like
Yeah.
perfect. But how do I make that experience for as many Goonies as possible? And that's kind of what the challenge is. So we're just trying to figure out what that is. And every time we visit Astoria and we go back, we're excited because we don't live there full time. Although we have people that guard the house, watch the house, it's being recorded with tons of cameras and things like that. It needs to just be open. It needs to be, people need to know. And yeah, so it's going to take a community, but whether or not the Facebook group, they all want to figure out some way to make this happen. I thought about an idea, and I don't know if this is legal or not, but what if how like a company goes public and they sell shares of a company, right?
Yeah.
Could you do something similar with a house? Is that even
That'd be really interesting. Yeah.
to where you sell 10,000 unique shares or 100,000 shares or 1 million shares at some fractional price? Say you sold 1 million shares at a couple dollars a piece, then each person is considered a shareholder or like an owner. And then those people would be able to technically claim that it's their house too. So they could visit it. And then how do you protect it so people aren't fighting if this group shows up? And, there's all these. So you can see kind of where our minds are.
Yeah.
Space is trying to figure out how to share this thing. But in the meantime, we're just going to have fun with it and keep making videos for TikTok. Stuff. I mean, your guys' truffle shuffle was hilarious. If listeners haven't seen it, go to my TikTok, Behman Zachary. It's pretty simple, and I got a very unique name. And but once you find how to spell it, I'm just saying on every form of social media. Go to the TikTok, and you have to watch Matt's truffle shuffle. And it was with Kate, right, and her friend.
Yeah, Katrina. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to remember. I'm not the best with names, but it was such a good time. And I'll tell you, it never gets old when somebody really wants in the house. And I'm like,
you look like you enjoy playing that role, Behman. And in all the TikToks I've seen, you look like, I mean, you lean against the door frame just like you did in the movie. You fold your arms, and you're in character straight away, right? And
I just hope Corey Feldman's going to be proud of me. That's all I want. To say, solid job, my friend. That's it.
Solid job. Well, listen, I know I said this to you before, but you guys were super generous to us when we just turned up unannounced. And I think we spent about 2 hours with you inside the house, just walking around, chatting away, and super generous with your time. And it was lovely to meet the family and hear what you guys are doing with the house, and just showed me around, saying, "Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to restore this front doorway here. We're going to put in a staircase there." And what was fascinating, Behman, was 2 nights ago. We have a friend, a very good friend of mine. She's lovely. She's become like my adopted daughter. She's from the Ukraine, and she's part of the team that's going to edit this podcast. She's just wonderful. And I was telling her about coming to Astoria, going up to going to the cinema, watching the movie, watching the music video, which was launched, which was just brilliant. And then going up to the house and having a look around the house. And she was like, "What's the Goonies?" And I'm like, "Are you serious?" So she came back to the house that night. I'm like, "Right, 8:30, I'm putting the Goonies on." So we had the big TV, we had the Goonies movie playing. And I've watched it again, like the third time in the last few weeks. And as the movie was playing, I'm like, I stood in that room, and that's where I did. And let me tell you about the attic. So let me tell you, oh, it's unbelievable. And just as a caveat, if you ever do shares in the house, let me know, because I would be interested in that. But it was really magical, and just like you say, just standing in the house where they filmed this movie, which I think if you grew up in the 80s is one of those movies that actually had a profound impact on people, wasn't it? And it's become a bit of a cult classic for a reason. What was it about the movie that you found so special?
To be honest, at the age I was at, when I watched it, I was probably almost 9 years old. So 8, 9 years old. And so what was special was how much I could relate to it as a boy growing up in the 80s and watching, the cast do this treasure hunt to go find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. It was kind of every boy's dream. Like whether or not, I don't know if everybody remembers, but at least here in the United States, McDonald's used to have this Monopoly game where every time you bought like a soda or a value meal, like a hamburger, they would have these little things where you'd peel off and you try to match up. And if you got Boardwalk and Park Place, they would give you $1 million. And so it was, every kid, and we were poor. We didn't have any money growing up. So it was my dream to be able to go home and show mom and dad that I got Boardwalk and Park Place, right? So when Goonies came out, it was kind of the same thing. It was like the hunt treasure where all you have to do is find it and it's yours, right? And, when you're that age, when you're 8, 9 years old, you're learning about life. You don't know anything about life. And so these kids and this movie really exemplified the power of friendship and family and determination and adventure and all of that together. So after watching the movie, immediately I wanted to go find a treasure. And I had sold myself, the imagination of an 8-year-old kid. I had sold myself that there was a buried treasure out there. And we all know that throughout the world, there's probably thousands of buried treasure.
Yeah.
It really is. So it's not like just this fake imaginary thing. And so we started impersonating and acting like we were Goonies. And that's was a big part of us. And so the 80s and those movies kind of molded that and kind of taught us, the whole stick together friendship. And the most famous slogan, not "Hey, you guys," but the most famous slogan of Goonies, "Never say die," really means never give up. And that's really, that's what I translated it to. I mean, in my life was when you live a normal life and you weren't given anything and you start from nothing and you work your way towards the top of the mountain, there are going to be so many things that get thrown at you to knock you off the mountain and so many things to knock you off your path and to make you want to give up. And there have been, I'm not kidding you, out of the tens of thousands of days that I've lived on planet Earth, there have been hundreds of days that I've wanted to give up. And it was things like the movie Goonies and things like that embedded in my DNA, in my heart, soul. It's who I am, that it's not you. Like, I'd rather, I don't want to say the word because Goonies never say die, but I'd rather be that than give up, right? I don't want to tap out. I don't want to say mercy. I don't want to say that this beat me. My rule of thumb is if somebody's already done it, then it can be done. And so we know people have found treasures, right? It happens all the time with shipwrecked treasures, people hiking in the hills. There was
Mhm.
a couple, I believe, in California, like 8 to 10 years ago, that found these tin cans on their property. And there was all these old vintage coins, and they ended up being worth like $10 million or some crazy number after they got graded. And that was all Goonies all over again. And then
Yeah.
you have this gentleman named Forrest Fenn, who was an older gentleman that decided to take a bunch of his artifacts and gold coins and treasures, put them in a treasure box and hide it. And then he wrote a poem and wrote a book about giving clues on how to find the treasure. So as a Goonie, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is
Oh, wow.
treasure. And I believe it got found, but his name was Forrest Fenn, Fenn. You can look it up if you haven't seen it. It's so intriguing. So I would like to someday be the next Forrest Fenn. I would like
Yeah.
to massive treasure someday, especially when I'm getting older. If I live till I'm 80 years old, 85, 90 years old, you can't take it with you when you go. So as a Goodie, maybe I'll hide 10 buried treasures or something, and maybe
Yeah, yeah.
maps, Goonies maps and stuff. And so we're trying to integrate the movie and the love of the movie to real life treasure hunting. I know if one family found one treasure, it would change their life, right? And you want
Mm.
it to get into the right hands. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. I know I talked for a long time, but that's kind of
No, it's fascinating, isn't it? And this idea of finding the buried treasure, if you can, there's so many analogies that you could draw off that, isn't it? I mean, there's actual treasure hunts, which we all love doing still, even as adults, we still love them. And I remember when the kids were growing up, we still did the Easter egg hunts, and all those kind of things, because there's something we all drew treasure maps. Our kids all still draw treasure maps. And it's that there's something about it that is quite magical. And to be honest with you, with my business, I could say I sort of had a map, followed it along, had an adventure, and I seem to be finding these treasure things as I go along. And it's quite funny. But as you were talking, Behman, I did think actually you own a gold company, right? Your company is called We Buy Gold.
yeah. We buy and sell gold, jewelry, coins, and like I had told another news station that my businesses. So I have four businesses that have payroll, right? Employees and
Mhm.
locations. Four different businesses. One of them is We Buy Gold, and it's here in the Kansas City area, which is one of the major cities here in the United States. And at one point, we had 14 locations. We've downsized since, but subconsciously, all the businesses I have were related to the movie Goonies. It's like it's unbelievable. Like my first business, which I still have, it was a baseball card shop. And if you remember when they were
Oh,
going down
there's that. Yeah, yeah. He finds it, doesn't he, on the guy that yeah,
the baseball card in Chester Copperpot's wallet,
that's
and
right. Yeah, yeah.
baseball card shop since the early 1990s, since 1993. And what's interesting about that, of course, we've morphed into Pokemon cards now. So we're a big Pokemon card retailer and Magic the Gathering, right? And
Mm.
all these other games. But subconsciously, I got in the baseball card business. My next business was the gold business. I mean, effectively, if you look at, okay, here's what's funny. One-Eyed Willie's treasure is a treasure chest, right? It's effectively what is the logo of my card business called Collector's Cash? What's my logo? What's my company
Oh
logo?
no, don't tell me it's a treasure box.
It's a treasure chest. It's a treasure chest. And when I was doing it, I wasn't thinking necessarily
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It just, the word cash, the way it's spelled, is not spelled like money cash. It's
Mm.
Cache. It's
Mm.
spelled like cachet, but it's pronounced
Yeah.
cash. And if I don't know if you know what that means.
But
Most
it's a
people,
store. Yeah.
it's kind of like a place of hidden valuables,
Yeah.
like a hidden. And
Yeah.
so when I was trying to think of what logo do I make for Collector's Cash, I said it has to be a treasure chest. And so subconsciously, it took me years to find an artist or I forgot. It just took forever to find. I found the one, and so that's that. Then my next business is We Buy Gold. Then the next one is an escape room. So I have escape rooms. What are they trying to do from the Fratelli phone? Like, you can't make this stuff up, and the next one is so crazy because I don't know if this is a thing in the UK, but the last business is an axe throwing business. right? Like darts, but
Yeah, yeah,
axes.
yeah,
And so people are like, well, how does that relate to the movie? And I said, well, when they trip the wires in the tunnel and
hmm
they trip booby trap, right? And
yeah, yeah,
and the ropes start moving, right? And all that.
yeah.
Well, what cuts the ropes
Oh
in the
yeah,
movie?
it's all the accents. Yeah,
It's their axes.
yeah.
And so it's just weird. And then I'm also in the real estate business, so it makes total sense to buy the Goonies house, right? I didn't plan all this. I wish I could say I was a genius and I was smart enough to have planned this whole thing. This is God's plan, so I'm doing God's work right now. It's like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
what's next in store for me. It's like you can't make this up.
That's fascinating. So
Yeah.
you set up four companies, you four businesses with payroll. Okay, let me go back to the card one. Have you ever had into your store the card that they found in the Goonies? I don't know if that was a genuine baseball card. I don't know anything about baseball cards, but was that a genuine baseball card? And have you had that since?
Yes. So it is a genuine baseball card. If I remember, it's like a 1970 Topps Lou Gehrig card.
Mm.
Right. God, if it's 69 or 71, please forgive me. I should know this. But it is a genuine card. Yes, I do have one because a good Goonies friend of mine actually sent me one.
No
Um,
way.
yes. And I've had them, I'm sure, throughout the years because
Mm.
we bought 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s,
Yeah.
and we've bought collections of cards. So I'm sure I've had it, but I've never paid attention to it. But it is a legitimate card. But what's interesting about the timing of that? So let's just assume it's a 1970 card. Well, the kids are in the tunnel. We'll call it 1985.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so did Chester Copperpot, like at what year? I'm trying to place it because when they read the newspaper article and they say missing man goes missing while in
Yeah.
pursuit, you
Yeah.
know, treasure, I need to look again on the date on that
I'll
bag.
find out. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, gosh, I don't remember the exact date, but I'm wondering if that was a movie flub where they messed up with like years.
Yeah.
It kind of like
But
put
there's
all that together. Not that it
yeah.
might not be, but I need to look because I don't know why my memory thinks that the newspaper article was before
hmm
baseball card, right? Before
hmm
1970. If it was, then that wouldn't make any sense. But they also did the octopus scene, right? Where at the end, Data, they're like, what was the most dangerous part or whatever? It's the scariest part. And he's just like, oh, it was the octopus. Well, they cut
hmm
the octopus scene. So if you watch the movie, you're like, what octopus? Like, what are you talking about? But it was a deleted scene. So
Yeah. Yeah. No fair.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and one of the things that I loved actually about when we were at the house, you were showing me all these things like the calendar on the wall, the little treasure chest in the corner, the painting. So the community has been sending you stuff, hasn't it? Since you've bought this, since word got out that you bought the house, people have been sending things in. Is that still happening?
Yeah, so and we had to put that on pause for now because of the TV show that we would like to integrate that with the TV show. But
hmm
there's a Facebook group. If you're a big Goonie and you're not in this and you're on Facebook, well, actually, if you're not on Facebook, you need to join Facebook and then join this group. But it's called the Goonies 35th anniversary. And it used to be the Goonies 30th, and then they updated the name. And I'm
hmm
sure it'll be the Goonies 40th when the 40th comes around the corner
Yeah.
here. But this group has approximately 15,000 huge Goonie fans in the group. And so a good friend of mine, Deepak, who's in Austin, Texas, you might have met him. He was there that
Yeah, I
same.
did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So Deepak, very computer literate, right, and stuff. And I asked him, I said, can you handle the spreadsheet? So he created a shared Google spreadsheet and we listed every single prop that we could think of and find and locate in the movie, and we listed it and we wanted to give the community, the Goonies, an opportunity to kind of be involved rather than it just be us. People do want to be involved. I know if I didn't own the house and this was up there, I would want to send something to the house,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we thought of this unique idea. And you've been in the house, so when you go up the stairs, there's a huge wall on the left
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
nothing on it. So we said, why don't we utilize that wall and why don't we memorialize anybody who gives a gift to the house? They would get their name on a plaque with what they gave, maybe or something, and then their location. So it would be
Yeah.
like Matt Edmondson, London, I'm not saying you're in London, but London, England, or something
Hmm.
like that. And it would say like David statue, assuming you gave us the David statue,
Yeah.
right? And that way, as a Goonie, you can say that your name rests
In the
inside the
Goonies
Goonies
house.
house,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
so does the prop that you send. And so we try to think of a fun way that the community could be involved with the house. And we're going to
Mm.
continue to do this kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I mean, I have mortgages, I have bills to
Mhm.
pay. I'm not this retired guy with $1 billion doing nothing. So I have to actually work every single day. And then it's like what my passion project is obviously Goonies and I love other 80s films like Back to the Future and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So it's how do I make time for family, friends, Goonies,
yeah.
right? And all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's, well, it's an interesting thing because I mean, I don't come across many people, Behman, who run four companies,
Yeah.
and then go and buy something as significant as the Goonies house. Why? How come you? How did you end up doing four companies rather than just doing, say, We Buy Gold and just building that company? What is it about you that kind of has to keep doing something new and different?
Well, I'm like most humans on planet Earth, where it's hard to get satisfied, right, with life. We always like to accomplish more. It's always more, more, more. What new goal can I set and accomplish? Because once you accomplish a goal, after the dust settles and you celebrate it, you become complacent. It becomes normal, and then you're like, well, what's next, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's just human nature. It's not you. It's not me. It's not the next person. We always want more as humans. We want to grow our spirits. We want more things, right? And so my first business, which was the trading card business we talked about, the baseball cards, the Pokemon cards, collector's cash I've had for about 30 years.
Mm.
The reason that I decided to go and start We Buy Gold after was for diversification. In the card business, it's such an uncertain business. They keep releasing
Mm.
new cards, and you never know, are these cards going to be profitable? Am I going to be able to make money? Is this a sustainable business? The
Mm.
majority of the people in the card business have gone out of business. Like over
Right.
90% of people have closed their stores down. So it's a very tough grind to
Mhm.
last for years, decades alone. I mean, I've completed my third decade. I'll be starting my fourth decade here
Wow.
soon. And so the thought was, how do I how do I protect my downside, my
Mm.
risk, right? And so I wanted a business that I felt when the economy wasn't the greatest, what business benefits from that? And that is gold,
Yeah.
precious, right? You always see gold and silver prices go up when the economy goes to crap and there's a depression and there's all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then they settle down when there's a great economy. It always happens. It seems like it, at least. So that was the thought there was, how do I protect my downside? If this business fails, what's my buffer, right? What can protect
Mhm.
that? So then once we started that business, we overexpanded, which was a mistake. I had a lot of people telling me not to do it, but we opened too many stores too quick. So like I said, we had 14 locations, and then we downsized and we got stable. We didn't go out of
Mhm.
business, luckily, but we were
Mhm.
very close to going out of business, but we
Oh,
didn't.
wow.
It was again the never say die, the never give
Mhm.
up, and the
Yeah.
mentality. I have this relentless mentality, and if you're going through this in life, listen to me. I've already said this on the podcast. Not only did I come from nothing, but I suffer the same ups and downs in life as you do. The next person does. I
Yeah.
feel them even where I'm at today. There's always ups and downs. It just gets slightly easier
Mhm.
as you start paying debt off and you start wanting less out of life, like less
Mhm.
material things, and it gets easier, but you still suffer. So if you're listening to me and you're going through tough times right now, never give up. You only lose when you get knocked down and you don't get up. That's the only time you
Yeah.
lose. But you only have to win the overall war. You don't have to win every battle. In
Yeah.
fact, one of my mentors told me, I'm a baseball fan, and in baseball, there's 9 innings. And
Mhm.
one of my mentors, also a huge baseball fan, he said, listen, the game of life is like a baseball game. You don't have to win every inning, you just have to win the game.
Mhm.
So you may really do poorly today and tomorrow, but the next week you do great, right? And you just
Mhm.
need to have more wins than losses. and have that never say die mentality, that never give up mentality, and keep pushing through. So then after we got those two businesses, both of those businesses were tangible goods. So meaning we buy physical goods like cards or gold coins or whatever, and then we have to ship them or sell them or whatever. I said, maybe I should get a business that doesn't have any inventory, like an entertainment business. And then I opened up some escape rooms. I think that was 7 or 8 years ago. And I love the business. In our spare time, we would go try these escape rooms and see what they're all about. We had fun. I said, well, we know the ABC is a business, so let's just open one. And we had just bought a building that housed one of our gold companies, and the basement was not being used. So we said, let's put our escape rooms down in the basement, and we made it happen. So, and then, of course, why not, my friends get into the axe throwing business, and I know nothing about it, but why not just add another business while we're at it? So we get an axe throwing. So that's the reason. It was more to answer your question, it was more to just, add layers, protection. I think that if you've got one job and that's all you do, the best thing you can do is start a side hustle, a side business. And so you work in the United States, we call it a 9 to 5 job, 9 a.m. to 5, right? So you work 40 hours a week. Well, the good news is there's a lot more than 40 hours in a week. The way that I got ahead, like I did at my age, was I worked 70, 75, and even 80 plus hours a week for most of my life. And although people might say, oh, that sucks, oh, that this, I said, well, I enjoyed doing it for the most part. I did. That was kind of enjoyable. So you don't have to work 70, 80, 90 hours a week. You could work 50, 55, 60. And it's like the whole penny a day doubler. It's like, I have this thing, and I'm not the one that invented this, but if you take a penny a day, 1 cent in the United States, which is the lowest denomination of money, which buys you nothing, and you double it for 30 days, you'd be surprised how much money that becomes worth if you double it for 30 days. And I always tell people, would you rather have $1 million right now or a penny a day doubled for 30 days? And most people say $1 million, but it's the wrong answer. And so what that shows you is the power of compounding. And so if you can compound your income and you have your day job, and your day job pays for the basic necessities of life, and then at the end of the month you have a few hundred euros, dollars, whatever left over. Okay, great. You can go buy a gift or go out to dinner at an expensive restaurant. What if you could earn, another $1,000 or 1,000 euros per month on the side, just doing a hobby that you love? You could be a person that likes to knit and make, sweaters. You could be like me and you could buy and sell baseball cards on the side. You could be a person that likes to just fix cars and you just charge people on the side to fix cars. Whatever your expertise is, add that to your income. And then as the months go, the years go, and a decade goes, wow, you're going to say, oh my gosh, why didn't I do this earlier? And that's the key, at least for me, as somebody that came from nothing. These people that are trust fund babies that they inherit millions of dollars, a family member passes, that's not exactly a way to get wealthy or to get ahead in life. You have got to sacrifice. And unfortunately, you're going to have to sacrifice spending some time with family and friends to get there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Well, as you're talking, actually, I'm thinking of Katie, who made this tie-dye T-shirt. She's a nurse by trade, right? And so at the weekend, she's down selling her tie-dye T-shirts, and she's killing it, man. She's doing super well. And so really pleased for her. That's going well.
Philosophy. That's the exact philosophy I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anything she makes off of the T-shirt business, she gets to keep.
Yeah, totally. And reinvest, and actually that hustle came from her parents. When you talk to her parents, they were always hustling, and it's always quite interesting. I was telling my son the other day that we were going to be chatting, and Josh is 22 years old now. And he was telling me he wasn't that interested that you own the Goonies house. He was more interested in your card trading because he's a big Magic of the Gathering and a big D&D guy. And I have to be honest with you, Behman, I was like, I don't even know what Magic of the Gathering is. And then he told me how much some of these cards go for. And you're like, oh my goodness. I said, you need to talk to Behman because that's what he does. And he's like, well, okay.
No, and that's literally what I that's the business I'm in. And yeah, Magic the Gathering cards now, there are some worth 6 and 7 figures. There have some of the really rare ones have broken $1 million mark, and there are cards worth 6 figures, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's collectibles are now a true asset class.
Mm,
People have collected fine art for centuries,
mm,
and I've heard of paintings going for $80 million or even higher, and at auction. And you're like, why would somebody pay $80 million for a Van Gogh or some
mm,
painting where like it looks like the artist just painted a bunch of red on like
mm,
the canvas, and you're like, why would you pay $80 million for that? And
mm.
so collectibles have become effectively, in a sense, a miniature version of artwork. And so these
Yeah.
Pokemon cards, these Magic the Gathering cards, these baseball cards, they're all basically representations of small pieces of artwork. And the reason they're worth so much, there's a fundamental root reason that these bring the money that people don't understand. And you know what that is?
Well, I assume it's nostalgia in some kind of form.
Yeah, so you're in the right department. It's the memory, it's the connection to
Yeah.
that childhood memory that they had when they went to the grocery store with their father and he bought him a pack of cards and they opened it up and he got this card. He was so excited. It was his favorite player in baseball or it was his
Yeah.
favorite garbage pail kid or his favorite Pokemon card. And they remember, and some people, unfortunately, they say they lost their parents, right? Or lost one of their parents. And so that's their connection to that memory, to that history.
Mm,
And there's nothing more powerful than our hearts. And so when
yeah.
you're touching people's hearts through collectibles, that's the real driver. I mean, obviously supply and demand, right? If a card is much more rare than
Mm,
the next card and, or it's more desired for different reasons because it's usable in a tournament format or, whatever, it's the best baseball player of all time and it's limited, sure, it's going to go for more. But the real reason people want it is for that memory.
So do you find yourself when stuff comes in the store, looking at stuff, Bam, and going, I'm not selling that, I'm keeping that. Is your house just full of stuff that you probably should have sold at some point?
I will say that in the early days, I had a lot of that, way more than I do now. I'm
Mm,
not very attached to trading cards or things as I used to be. As you evolve as a human over time, you start realizing that time on Earth is very limited. And
mm,
it's not really the things, the physical things that we have in this world that matter, but more again, it's the lasting memories that
mm,
we've left on others, the lasting impressions that we've left on others. So, my goal in life went from accumulating stuff, right? When you're a kid, you want to have a mansion and you want to have a bunch of fancy cars and a big
mm,
boat and all this stuff. My goals in life are not those things, although those things will probably show up within time. My goals are how many people's lives can I positively impact? How
mm,
many people can I positively show the right path as far as like in mentorship through business, how to get successful in business? Like that to me means way more because in the end, we've all been to these gloom and doom funerals where you're sitting there
mm,
and you're crying because you lost a loved one. But think to yourself in the very end, what mattered to that person?
mm,
What mattered about that person? And the truth is, and the answer is, the lasting memories that they left
mm,
on you and all the others that are sitting there crying. The
yeah.
memories is what matters. So the more time we can focus on the non-tangible things and about becoming better humans and helping better the lives of others, then that's what we need to be doing. And so my newfound goal, because I was selected to be the steward of this Goonies house, my newfound goal is to try to impact the world, this
Mm,
entire planet
mm,
positively through the love of the Goonies movie and through that house. And
mm.
I think that I can figure out how to do that.
I think you can, but no, I'm really excited to see where it goes, and I'm intrigued, with like the TV deal and some of the plans that you've got for the house and where it's all going. It's fascinating, isn't it? So what do you do, Bayman, to sort of recharge your batteries? How do you sort of keep your tank full?
Yeah, that's tough because for a long time I was so past what we call burnout, right? Where you work too
Mhm.
much, you just keep going. And I got in a zone where I just continued to work and nothing else mattered. How do I recharge myself? It's pretty simple. I get home, and whether I turn my phone off or not isn't always the solution. But it's how do I turn Behman's mind off? Because my mind is just nonstop
Yeah.
thinking, how do I solve this problem? How do I make this situation right? What's the next thing we're going to work on, right? And sometimes when I'm trying to go to bed, I can't sleep because my mind's racing on.
Mm.
So I have to distract myself, and it's honestly usually through watching some show, watching a movie that I'm very consumed about, right? Watching Goonies again or something that takes my mind off of life, or simply turning my phone off
Mhm.
and, going somewhere, going on out to dinner with friends or family or something like that. But I'll tell you the key, like physically, is I have become obsessed with taking care of my body the best that I can because I know that in order to be the best version of me, for myself, my family, my friends, my employees, the community, the Goonies community, the world. In order to be the best version of me, I have to feel the best, look the best, right? And so my diet is extremely strict for the most part. Everybody cheats and has some sugar here and there, but I have a very strict diet.
Mhm.
I wake up every morning, I take vitamins, and I've researched all different brands of vitamins. So I think I found the ones that work for me the best. So I'm a vitamins person. We juice every morning. Sometimes we might have bone broth or something to kind of get the body jump started for protein. And we try to eat as organic, as healthy as we can, and not eat frankenfoods. We try to stay away from
Mhm.
processed foods. And so if I feed my body the best nutrients, I nourish my body the best it can be, I sleep 8 hours a day. Sometimes it's only seven, sometimes it's nine, but I get a good night's sleep. I learned through trial and error that the earlier you go to bed, the best you'll rest.
Yeah.
So if you go to bed at your local time at say 10 p.m. at night or even earlier, you're going to feel so much better the next morning than if you stayed up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, which I used to
Mm.
do for a long time. I used to play a lot of poker. A lot of people don't know that about me, but for
Right.
about a decade of my life, I played semi-professional poker, and I play at the World Series, every other year or so. So it's that was the exact opposite, and a very unhealthy lifestyle, right? That's about as unhealthy as you can go. So after living through that and seeing, okay, in the later years, we're middle aged here, so going into the second half of our lives, what do I got to do to be the best version? So how do I recharge? I nourish my body with the best vitamins,
Mhm.
nutrients, vegetables, meats, things like that as I can, nuts and seeds. And then I try to get a good night's rest and I exercise. I exercise almost every day. If I'm not actually working out, I sit in the sauna. I'll sit in the sauna 4 to 7 days a week, depending on the
Mhm.
week. And then I take cold showers, which
Mhm.
people talk about cold plunging. I've done that, and at some point when it becomes a cold plunge scenario becomes more accessible, I'll do that. But I take freezing cold showers, and let me tell you something: the Goonies house has the coldest water in the world. So when I'm there, oh my gosh, I'm kidding you, it's got to be just a tad above freezing. It's probably
Oh,
30
wow.
degrees. It is the most freezing water. But I'll take a cold shower for 5 to 7, 8 minutes. And if you suffer from anxiety, which I've had anxiety like for the most of my life,
Mm.
one of the hacks that I've figured out just from trial and error for me, it works for me, is cold showers. But then in order to take a cold shower, here's the funny part. You have to actually do breathing exercises. And so
Mhm.
I follow Wim Hof's breathing
Yeah.
exercise, which he does. He's the master. They call him the
Mhm.
Iceman. So I follow Wim Hof breathing to get prepped because you don't, by the way, it's dangerous to just cold plunge and take a shower.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
do this. You
Yeah.
have to prep for it. So, but yeah, that's kind of what resets me and gets me going. And then
Mm.
I do my best to get, then my mind's ready. Then I'm reset and like I can
Mm.
do this podcast and I can go endlessly because my
Mm.
body's just freaking charged and ready to go.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Bayman, I'm going to do the question box.
Okay.
The question box is where we have a box full of random questions. I'm going to flick through these questions. You're going to tell me to stop. And wherever you say stop, that's the question that we're going to ask next.
Okay. Stop.
Okay. So, interesting question. Can you describe your own taste in interiors and design?
That's such a random question.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I'm not an interior designer. I would say that, my wife is much better at that than me. I know that there's a real thing. Feng Shui is a real thing. If you, when you design like the inside of a house, when
Mm,
you walk in the front door, based off the design, you get a feel.
mm.
So I'm not very versed in that department. Probably better to cut to another card.
Talk to the wife.
Yeah, talk to the
Yeah,
wife would
yeah,
be the short answer there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I was going to answer this question, can you describe your own taste in interiors and design? My interior taste depends on the building that I am in. And so if you took something like the Goonies house and did this modern Swedish kind of look and feel to it, it wouldn't make sense to me in that sort of context.
Right.
But in Sweden, that makes sense. And so I don't think I have a specific taste other than it has to make sense. I live in a Victorian house. It was built in 1840. And so all the bits of furniture that because I like joinery, I've got a bit of a wood shop thing going on, and my downtime's in a wood shop. All the furniture we make, all the furniture we buy has to be Victorian in look and feel. If I try to do something contemporary in that house, it would just feel a bit odd. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably how I would answer the question.
agree.
In terms of interior design, then, what are you most looking forward to about restoring the Goonies house? You're talking to this TV company, you're going to do this restoration thing. What's the bit you're most looking forward to seeing sort of back as it was in the movie?
I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is if they hook this up like I think they're going to, if they set this up, is meeting the original cast and having them do the walkthrough of the house and explaining, wow, I remember when this happened, and telling stories that none of us Goonies know. So you can imagine when they were filming, you saw the living room. The camera lens makes it look bigger than it really is. It's not that big. So, could you imagine if Jeff Cohen, if like Chunk was like, yeah, before I dropped the statue, they did this, this, and this to me, or they gave me a noogie on my head, or, they just hearing the stories, but it really would be meeting the cast and hearing all those epic stories that we've never heard, and watching their expressions as they walk through it, because for most of those actors, that was the start of their major careers. Right.
But there's quite a few famous actors, isn't there, that have come out of this movie? When I was watching it the other night with Josh, my son, I'm like, do you recognize him? No. And you show him a picture of that person now, and he's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because you've got the I can't remember the chap's name that played Mikey that went on for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Sean Astin is Sam.
Yeah.
He's in Lord of the Rings. He's like a major character. And if you didn't know him from Goonies, you would say, oh, he's Sam from Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I mean, and he was Rudy, but he's really Mikey in Goonies and Sam in Lord of the Rings. But these actors, Corey Feldman had a illustrious career, right? He was in tons of movies. And even Ke Huy Quan, even though he didn't have a ton of childhood roles other than, Indiana Jones and Goonies.
Yeah.
He did have this recent, movie that he did that took him to the next level. So the four main Goonies, and I'm not including Jeff Cohen, Chunk, because Jeff self-proclaimed that was the start and end of his acting career.
Yeah, he wanted out, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, so if you take Jeff Cohen out, he nailed Chunk to a T. Like nobody could have played that part any better. But the other four guys, their careers were amazing. And then, Cary Green and Martha Plimpton, I think, have also had roles in other stuff as well.
Yeah.
But Goonies was the starting point. So back to it, it's just going to be hopefully getting the opportunity to be standing physically with them in the house and watching their expressions, listening to the stories, and just being there.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing. Well, listen, Behman, it's been great to talk to you, man. And thanks for coming on the show. If people want to reach out to you, if they want to connect with you, if they want to find out more about the Goonies house, what's the best way to do that?
Through social media. My handle's the same on all of them. Behman Zachary. You can, if you want to put the spelling for it when you list the podcast, Behman, last name Zakeri. That's my social media on on everything, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that. And then we also have created some Goonies House handles on Twitter and Instagram. Some of them are Goonies Home, and some of them are Goonies House. And the way that you know that they're mine is it'll have my name listed in the bio, and that's
the way it works.
so yeah. And I do my best to respond to all the messages and responses. I'll be honest, I'm consistently behind because I was overwhelmed from the time that my name was disclosed to the world. I got like 3,000 Facebook friend requests in like the first couple of weeks. It was insane, And
yeah, because you were on like the Kelly Clarkson show, I saw.
I did get on Kelly Clarkson, and I had to actually hire a PR firm for a few months to represent me because I was so overwhelmed with the amount of reaching out, the media and all that stuff. So if you do send me a DM or a message, I do my best to respond to everyone. I mean, there's some that are so off the wall that I get confused, or I can't answer. I just, sometimes no answer is the best answer. But if it's a normal request or normal whatever, I do my best to respond. And sometimes I'm a week behind, but yeah, that's the best way.
Fantastic. Well, we will, of course, link to Behman's info in the show notes as well, which you can get along for free, along with a transcript at pushtobemore.com. And of course, if you sign up to the newsletter, they will be coming to your inbox. So make sure you connect with Behman on social media. Watch the TikTok of me doing the truffle shuffle, because you know what? It'll make you laugh, if nothing else. Behman, listen, man, thanks for coming on the show. It's been great to connect again. Thanks for being so generous with your time around the Goonies house. I absolutely loved it. I've loved the conversation. I love what you're doing with the house, man. You're an absolute legend, and it's a real privilege to be able to talk to you today.
Thank you, brother. Much appreciated. And as they always say, Goonies never say die, never give up.
Goonies never say die. It's so true. Absolutely. What an absolute legend. A huge thanks again to Behman for joining me today. Also, a big shout out to today's show sponsor, Orient Media. If you're wondering if podcasting is a good marketing strategy for your business, do connect with them at orientmedia.com. That's AURION media.com. And be sure to follow Push to Be More wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, you are awesome. Created awesome. Yes, you are. It's just a burden you have to bear. Behman has to bear it. I have to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Push to Be More is produced by Orient Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainon, Estella Robin, and Tanya Hutzalak. Our theme music is by Josh Edmondson. As I mentioned, if you'd like to read the transcript or show notes, head to the website, pushtobemore.com. That's it from me. That's it from Behman. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.